Hi there, this is Fritz Rinker. I'll talk about the BRICS situation for a little bit. The BRICS is the countries that want to, let's say, have their own currency zone, and not be part of the dollar zone, and not be beholden to have dollars in order to get fossil fuels. I guess the problem with the BRICS is that they don't understand economics, and because the fundamental aspect of economics is that it is about driving fossil fuel cash flow. So there's a very important and essential relationship between the dollar and oil, uh, which I've explained many times in the videos that I've made and the blog posts that I made on my greencheck.nl website, and which is that the only thing that gives value to the dollar is oil. Because if you cannot buy oil with your dollar, then what happens if the dollar, you say you buy a product from China, it's made out of plastic, and the money that you pay for that product ends up in China in the hands of the Chinese manufacturer, then he has to be able to buy oil with it, otherwise he cannot make another product. The whole cycle of production is largely still fossil driven. So if your dollar doesn't buy oil, then a producer has no use for your money, has no use for your dollar, and it doesn't want to accept it for your products because he cannot replace the product that he's sold, and he cannot make profit, and he cannot trade with anybody else because nobody wants that money if it's not worth fossil fuel. If you cannot buy it with it, that's basically the reason for and it's called the petrodollar, not for nothing. It's not because the US had a lot of oil and had control over Saudi Arabia, and it's like a coincidence. No, it's the essential aspect of the dollar is that it is an energy currency. Now, if you want to replace that, if you are like a group of countries like India, Russia, and Venezuela, and South America, or maybe Brazil, or and China, then you have a challenge because the country that issues the currency. So first you have to choose the currency. So is that going to be the ruble or the yuan or the yuan or the peso or whatever? And then you can of course agree, as many nations did under the petrodollar scheme, is to have a fixed let's say exchange rate, which has been, I think, loosened recently. But there was it's called special drawing rights, which is a basket of yen, euro, Swiss francs, dollars, and yuan, Chinese currency. So you can make and that had a fixed value, I guess. It has to have had a fixed value in the oil market. But how are you going to decide that at the moment? So at the moment, China is the boss of the BRICS because Russia is fighting a war. It's basically imploding slowly. China is not imploding slowly, but has some trouble. So that would mean that China would make the currency, and that Russia would supply the energy. But Russia cannot supply the energy. There's no oil pipelines. There's no infrastructure. That is not enough. So who else? Venezuela or Brazil is going to supply the oil to China or to Russia? And it's all very complicated. Plus, these are simply people that want to have their own riches. They're not used to, let's say, governing peaceably in an economistic, which is what I detest, but that's basically the whole principle of economism, is that, okay, no matter what, we're going to maximize the fossil cash flow. That's what the banks do. So the banks basically manage the dollar zone, and they're in charge there, which is disastrous. But anyway, that's a very strong system. That's a system that works. So if you're and now you see Saudi Arabia, which is a massive producer, and Kazakhstan, which is a massive producer of oil and gas, both signaling that they're not going to be part of any BRICS currency sphere. Yeah, makes complete sense, because that would either mean that Saudi Arabia gives all its oil to China, which I don't think it's prepared to do, simply because it doesn't have the right relationships with China. Or it has to give it all to Russia or something like that, or have a fixed currency exchange rate between those BRICS country currencies in a basket, just like the special drawing rights, which is a weird name, but that's what it's called. Saudi Arabia is not going to do that because it doesn't need rubles. Because what is it going to buy in Russia? That's the whole point. If you don't produce anything interesting and you don't have interesting people either to export, like celebrities or models, or like, let's not be naive about that. The whole Hollywood scene is a massive export product. Victoria's Secret, all that stuff. That's if you're rich, then you want to be, let's say, with beautiful people and in a beautiful environment, etc. All that stuff can be arranged by countries in the dollar zone. You don't have to leave the dollar zone. Why would you do that? Then you would be, let's say, you would basically destroy what you love. That's not what you want to do. Even though I personally, I think that you should switch to renewables, and that would be a way better way to let's say, get rid of all the tensions. But so basically the fundamental problem with the BRICS is that the people in the BRICS do not understand how the dollar system or the economic system works. And they're basically more like dictators that are not corrected often enough, that are not, let's say, operating enough in service of industry, but they're more extracting from industry. China may be an exception, but it's not on the radar enough that the whole point of a currency is that it supplies the energy to the producers of goods and services, and then the people that work can earn those energy credits because they contribute to the wealth creation. And it has basically now it has major, like, it's fundamentally is fossil based or nuclear based, like anything that is dangerous and that people that work have jobs normal people cannot do or make. That's what the banks want. So that's the system that I detest, but that's what we have right now. And that's the dollar system, and that's working for Saudi Arabia. It's fine. Why would you change that? That would be just big calamity, war, collapse, disaster, etc. You don't want that. So that's why I made the other video where I think, well, the bottom line of that video is that the US is helping China attain a lot of resources from Russia by helping Ukraine defeat Russia, more or less. And I think ultimately Russia will be defeated. So China should be very grateful for all those resources because it can get them very cheap from Russia. Saudi Arabia doesn't care because it has oil which is like goo, toxic. You don't want to touch it and you don't want to be around it, but they can sell it and then they can have the world. So, and to anybody, and then they would like to sell it to the group or the world that is most productive and brings them most enjoyment of life. That makes a lot of sense. So they give 20% to China, fine, and for yuan, and they give the rest to the rest of the world in dollars, fine. Why would you go sell it or give it away to Venezuela or to Brazil or to Argentina for whatever, or South Africa? What comes out of these countries that you want to have, that you're not having already? That's the major problem of the BRICS. So first, and that's also nice evidence of the fundamental law, is that wealth is more important than money. Because if South America or South Africa would make like kick-ass, insane electric vehicles or race cars or jet planes or super watches or whatever is impressive and cool weaponry, then there would be a point in having South African, what they have there, rands or something. There would be a point in having those. And there would be a point in giving that country control over your oil supply by printing rands automatically, enable the person that printed the rands, that created it, like his number in the bank account, have control over your oil as a Saudi Arabian country or Saudi Arabia. Because that's the deal that Saudi Arabia has with the US. It's an understanding. Like your Federal Reserve prints money, you enter the market with those dollars, and I deliver oil for those dollars. That's what Saudi Arabia has. That's the deal that Saudi Arabia signed up to with the US, and apparently there was a contract for the dollar denomination of oil in the oil market, and that's run out, and that's why there's now some uncertainty. But MBS he's called, the ruler of Saudi Arabia. I think he hang around the BRICS guys for like a little while. He joined the organization just to learn more about it. And after like a while, he concluded, well, this is just a group of idiots, and like Russia is at war, and like China is in trouble economically, and whatever. But we have these massive state-of-the-art producers like Japan, and of course China is also a massive producer, but like Germany and like all these countries, and they're doing fine. Why would I join a group of wannabe idiots that, like Russia, is just a massive failure under Putin? If Putin had brains, then Russia would be like a powerhouse industrial, but it is not. It's crap. So why? So he looked around. He thought, okay, no, this is not what I'm going to do. So then he announced that there's not going to be any oil for the BRICS from Saudi Arabia. And Kazakhstan did the same. And I think any oil-producing country should do the same, but simply go to the US and say, okay, well, listen, I can join the BRICS or I can join these countries. And then, well, there's two options for a country like this, name one, Venezuela. If you if you don't want to join the party, then the dollar party, then you are facing war and political, let's say, sabotage and all that stuff, and upheaval, and your society is going to suffer. And but that's basically what's happening in Venezuela. And if you do, then you can have a cut of your own riches. So you have to share. This is a little bit like the example of, you have a little mining village with miners, all kind of rough guys, very uncultured, let's say, and then there's a beautiful woman, blonde-haired woman. She ends up in that village for some reason. The bottom line is she has to choose one of the miners. There's like one of the guys is gonna be her guy, because that's the only option she has. And that's if you're an oil-rich country and you don't have an army, you don't have intelligentsia, you don't export weapons, you don't have like a promotional marketing celebrity culture that the whole world likes, and etc., that you addicted everybody to. You don't have social media platforms, you don't have innovative inventions, or you don't have control over patents and make them flow into your country. So if you don't have the most powerful banking system in the world, then you have to just play along. There's the other, like, or you get raped. That's basically the tasteless consequence of that example of the mining village. I think, just to end this 12 minutes, that's what happens in the celebrity culture in the US, in the music culture, with Mariah Carey and Kim Kardashian and P. Diddy. It's like, okay, listen, you're a celebrity now, and you have this, and you can be a celebrity, and we'll fund that, and etc. But unless you have some incredible support system, I guess Celine Dion, who has direct fan base and doesn't have to sell out or do anything, never was desperate, then you have to join P. Diddy's party or something like that. It's super tasteless. I'm sorry to mention it, but it's the same dynamics. That's the dynamics of the dollar, petrodollar sphere, of the American sphere. It's not, ultimately it's disgusting, but that's a consequence of the fact that the world is gangs. It's all gangs. There's like everybody has its own gang, and if you're not in the most powerful gang, you're gonna lose. You're gonna have to you have to make amends with whoever has the most powerful gangs, and obey whatever they want. I think so. So just to come back to the main topic, is the BRICS are losing the oil-producing countries, and with that they are losing their oxygen, the whole basis of their existence, because they don't understand that a currency is an energy currency, or it is a useless currency. Anyway, thanks for listening.